Strength does something strange. It doesn't just inspire people. Sometimes it offends them. Welcome to the Snips Media, a quiet space for timeless wisdom. Here we explore the ideas, teachings, and inner truths that have guided humanity across centuries, not to tell you what to think, but to invite you to reflect. Today we turn our attention to Friedrich Nietzsche, who understood something uncomfortable about human nature. Friedrich believed that weakness does not always appear fragile. Sometimes it appears moral, sometimes it appears righteous, and sometimes it appears offended. Nietzsche called this resentment, a quiet resentment that grows inside those who feel powerless. Instead of becoming stronger, they redefine strength as evil. Think about this carefully. When someone displays discipline, confidence, or independence, why does it sometimes trigger hostility? Why does ambition make some people uncomfortable? Why does self-control look like arrogance to others? Nietzsche would argue, because strength exposes insecurity. There are two ways to respond when you encounter someone stronger than you. You can rise, or you can resent. Rising requires effort. Resentment requires only judgment. It is easier to criticize discipline than to practice it. Easier to mock success than to pursue it. Easier to label confidence as ego than to build your own. Nietzsche believed societies often protect weakness by disguising it as virtue. He called this slave morality. In this framework, power becomes oppression, ambition becomes greed, pride becomes sin, excellence becomes arrogance. Not because these things are inherently evil, but because they threaten those who lack them. Strength forces comparison, and comparison is uncomfortable. When someone embodies control, resilience, or independence, it silently asks a question: why aren't you doing the same? That question can either motivate growth or trigger defensiveness. Notice something subtle. The strongest individuals rarely obsess over the weak, but the weak often obsess over the strong. Why? Because strength represents what they feel they cannot become, and instead of admitting that limitation, they attack the standard itself. Nietzsche was not advocating cruelty. He was observing psychology. He saw that resentment reshapes values. If you cannot win the game, you redefine winning as immoral. If you cannot reach the standard, you call the standard toxic. This is how cultures decline, not through force, but through gradual value inversion. But here is the deeper layer. Strength is not loud. True strength is controlled. It does not need validation. It does not react to every insult. And that is precisely why it unsettles people, because it cannot be manipulated. When you stop seeking approval, those who rely on approval feel threatened. When you stop explaining yourself, those who depend on justification feel exposed. When you become internally stable, external instability becomes obvious. Nietzsche believed the solution was not domination, it was self-overcoming. To rise above resentment, to build instead of complain, to strengthen instead of judge, because resentment keeps you small. It defines your identity by opposition. Strength defines your identity by creation. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever dismissed someone simply because they were disciplined? Have you ever downplayed someone's achievement to protect your ego? Have you ever labeled confidence as arrogance without evidence? If so, you've witnessed resentment firsthand, and everyone is susceptible to it. The uncomfortable truth is this: strength will not always be celebrated. Sometimes it will be criticized. Sometimes it will be misunderstood. Sometimes it will be attacked. But that reaction says more about the observer than the person being observed. Nietzsche's insight remains powerful today, not because it encourages superiority, but because it warns against hidden resentment. If you feel offended by strength, examine why. It may reveal an area where growth is needed. Strength does not demand applause, it demands responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. Not everyone wants to carry it. Remember, before you judge strength as arrogance, ask yourself, is it arrogance or is it something you haven't built yet?